Hi, I'm Jennifer Bourne, and I'm glad you're here. Today, we're talking about the terms that every freelancer should have in their contracts. Let's see. An introduction? Check. Scope of work? Check. Creative process? Check. Timeline, milestones, expectations? Check, check, check. Payment terms? Check. Signature line? Check. These are all basics of a freelance contract. Now, putting together a basic freelance contract for a website project isn't that big of a deal. It isn't super difficult as long as you're only ever building small, basic websites for small amounts of money. But when you're investing many hours into a project, the fees you charge increase, the stakes become much higher, and it becomes more important to have a solid contract in place to protect you and put your clients at ease. If you're like many freelance designers and developers, you may not know what terms to add to your contracts until it's too late and you've already been burned. That's why I include an entire week's training and materials on creating freelance contracts and change orders in my client management course, Profitable Project Plan. Now, while not an exhaustive list of what to include in a web design contract, we're going to cover a list of contract terms that should be in every freelance contract that you send. So let's dig into this list of freelance contract terms. First, what's not included. In addition to what is included in the scope of work, you should include a section about what is not included for the fee that you're charging. This will help avoid situations where the client assumes you're doing certain tasks for them and then later gets angry when you tell them that it's not included in the contract. I've got a couple examples to illustrate why this is important. So, example 1. Included in the scope of work is adding and styling all the provided content in the website, making one round of last-minute changes to the content to address any little typos or grammatical errors that is there. But what's not included is typesetting all of that content or typing up the content that has been provided in print format or replacing big chunks or full pages of content after you've already added it, styled it, and formatted it into the site. Example 2. Included in the scope of work is adding and embedding the client's course videos in their membership site. What's not included is uploading all of those videos to Vimeo Pro, adding the custom splash image, and configuring the settings for every one of those videos. Example 3. Included in the scope of work is integrating a MailChimp email marketing opt-in with their website and setting up the double opt-in confirmation email and the thank you or download page. What's not included is designing a custom MailChimp email marketing template and creating and configuring the automation or automated responders. Now, availability is another term that you want to put in your contracts. Make it very clear when you're available and when you're not, and how quickly the client can expect a response if they reach out. Be clear about your availability for phone calls, email, and meetings, and set boundaries for when and how often you check email and respond to messages, what lead time is required to set a meeting with you, and how fast turnarounds will be on work completed and revisions. Consider adding a short clause about social media as well. Let your clients know that you use social media for work and for play, and that when you're on Facebook and Twitter at night or on the weekends, it doesn't mean you're available to your clients as well. Another term that needs to be included in your freelance contract is about third parties. It is critical to protect yourself, your deliverables, and your deadlines from project delays and problems caused by third parties that you have no control over. These include hosting companies, email marketing providers, the postal service, mail houses, social media sites, plugins, email, domain registrars, internet service providers, and other third parties. It's also important to protect your time from the third party human, like a virtual assistant that your client might have hired to do some website things, but they don't actually understand websites, and you might get stuck having to train them or hold their hand or do work that they can't figure out, right? So including a third-party human clause in there as well can cover your butt a little bit in terms of maintaining profitability. Remember, it's not your job to train their virtual assistant or their team unless they hired you to do so. Also include a clause that protects you from losing hours of your time, right? Communicate that you are happy to be a resource for your clients or their team members or their virtual assistants, that you can help them on third-party platform configurations, fixing any configuration mistakes they might have made, providing ongoing support, or helping them out with some technical tasks, but also let them know that that will require a separate support agreement, and make sure that you're being paid for the time that you're putting in. Another contract term is dormancy. Do you have a plan in place for what happens when a client goes MIA in the middle of a project, fails to respond to your communications, or just stops responding to emails and phone calls altogether? A dormancy clause addresses what happens when a project falls dormant and a client disappears. In this clause, you want to outline what length of time must pass before a project is considered dormant. List exactly what criteria makes a project dormant and what happens when dormancy goes into effect. Then communicate what must happen to move the project out of dormancy and restart it if the client all of a sudden shows back up again. Is there a re-engagement fee? Do certain milestones or deliverables have to be met? What are the terms around dormancy? The next that kind of pairs with dormancy is cancellation. This contract term is really important, but most people only get it half right. In terms of cancellation, you want to outline the process a client must use for canceling a project. What do they need to do to cancel the contract? How much notice do they need to give? And what kind of refund, if any, do they get? But also, what happens to the work at that point? Do they get what they've paid for all the way up to that point? Do they forfeit all of the work if they get a full refund? Do they get nothing? What are the terms if the client wants to cancel? Now, in addition to communicating how the client can proceed if they want to cancel the project, you need to also communicate what happens if you want to cancel the project and fire the client. Consider addressing how long a project needs to be dormant before you can cancel the project. If it's canceled after falling dormant, are all refunds forfeited? That's something that you need to decide. What happens when you realize that a client isn't a good fit and you want to part ways? Do you refund them 100% and wish them well? Or is it a partial refund because you've already done some work? You also want to consider, what if work has already been completed? Do you cut your losses for goodwill? What stage of the project is it at? When do they only get a partial refund or a full refund or no refund? And what's the process you have to go through to cancel the project? Remember, most people, like I said, only do one of these things. They only address what happens if the client wants to cancel the project. But sometimes as a service provider, you're going to want to cancel the project and fire a client. So make sure that you have a process to do so. Another contract term that you want to make sure is included is your revision policy, especially if you are a creative entrepreneur or freelancer. Communicate with your client the design process. Share with them that it's an interactive process that they are going to need to participate in. Let them know they're going to have opportunities to provide input, feedback, and revisions. Inform your client how many rounds of revisions are included with the project, what actually constitutes a round of revisions, who is allowed to make or request revisions, and what happens if they need more revisions than's included in the contract, and then what happens if they want to make revisions after they've already provided design approval. Another term that you need to include in your contract is a clause for website hosting. Clients who are a little less technical savvy don't always understand how the relationship between their URL and website hosting and their website actually work. Some don't quite even understand that they need website hosting. In some cases, clients might assume that because you're building the website, you're also going to be hosting the website for the same fee. In your contract, make sure you explain what website hosting is, how it works, and who is responsible for purchasing website hosting. You can also include your recommended hosts. Also communicate what is included in taking the website live in the client's hosting account and what is not included, like dealing with other websites in an already existing hosting account or setting up email addresses or transferring domain names. Another contract term is all about premium plugins. During your work together, the client may request specific functionality for the website, and that might require the use of a premium plugin. Be sure to convey in your contract who's responsible for purchasing the license for that premium plugin, how the configuration and setup will be handled, and when the client may encounter extra fees, right? When they might have to pay a little bit extra. Another term that you don't want to forget, especially if you're building websites for clients, is browser testing and compatibility. Browser testing no longer means just attempting to make the website look exactly the same in all browsers of different capabilities or sizes, or screens of different settings and resolutions. Now it also means ensuring that a person's experience of a design should be appropriate to the capabilities of a browser or device. So outline which browsers you test your work against and what happens if the client requires compatibility for an outdated or obscure browser. We see this the most when working with enterprise or corporate level clients that have an IT department that is managing an outdated version of Internet Explorer across all the computers in their network. And so they need their website to be compatible with an old version of Internet Explorer that they're running on their internal networks. Another contract term that you don't want to forget is ownership of materials. Well, you're building the website, your client is supplying you with content, and that may include text, images, quotes, graphics, videos, audio, PDFs, and other materials. Protect yourself by limiting your liability for any content the client provides to you to put on the website. State that all content provided must be owned by the client, or that they must have written permission to use any content that they haven't created themselves. You also want to talk about ownership of actual work for hire. When the project is over and the website has been delivered, who owns that work? Who retains the copyright for the design? Outline the exact terms for ownership of work completed. Another contract term you want to cover is portfolio inclusion. As a creative entrepreneur or freelancer, you want to show off the work that you've done and that you're proud of. Let the client know that you love to highlight your work and your clients, and that you intend on showcasing their project in your portfolio. Also include other places you might be featuring your work, like blog posts, case studies, other marketing materials, and things like that. Just make sure you cover your bases so that you have the permission that you need to showcase and feature your work in any way that you need when marketing your business. Another contract term to take a look at is the location of legal filings and proceedings. Now, of course, nobody wants a project to go south to the point where you are taking legal action. But just in case, you want to make sure that you're covering your bases. If things go bad, if a dispute arises with your client and legal proceedings have to happen, or you are going to have to go to court, you have to be ready. Include verbiage in your contract that states the place any legal filings must be made and where your court proceedings must be held. I work with clients across the globe, which means if something terrible happens and for some reason I get into a big dispute with a client, I could be sued by someone in another state, in another country, or on another continent. Now, I don't want to be forced to spend my own money to fly to another state or across the country to dispute a claim. So my freelance contracts and legal documents state that these are under the exclusive jurisdiction of the state of California Placer County courts. This means that if a client decides that things have gone wrong, we can't come to an agreement, and it goes to the worst scenario, legal proceedings. Those proceedings, the documents have to be filed in my county, and the court proceedings are going to be filed in my county as well. Another contract term that you need to be aware of and put in your freelance contract if you are creating work for clients is the warranty of your work. Your client might not understand the difference between warranty work and website support. So in your contract, outline what warranty work is, how long the warranty is good for, what it includes, and what is and is not considered warranty work. Including a warranty is a really great way to provide your clients extra peace of mind when investing with your company. And frankly, it often leads to additional work in the future because clients might reach out with an issue that they're having to see if it's covered under warranty. And if it isn't, this is an opportunity for you to have a conversation with your client about how you can help them and provide more value. One more contract term that you want to include in your contract is support. You need to talk about ongoing support. I highly recommend upselling ongoing website support and care services to every website client that you have. Website support is not only a fantastic way to help your clients protect the website that they just invested in, but also to keep it performing just as well as it did on the day that you finished it and handed it over to the client. In your freelance contract or your business contract, be sure to outline what website support is included, if any, what happens if they need additional support with their website in the future, and what support services you provide. Remember, designers, developers, freelancers, service-based business owners tend to believe that every new client is going to be a great client because we truly want every project to be an incredible experience for ourselves and for our clients. Unfortunately, that can lead to a general laziness about creating contracts and preparing yourself for potential trouble down the road because not all clients are great clients. If every client was a great client, then freelancers and agencies wouldn't need contracts. If every client engagement went smoothly, clients wouldn't have horror stories about past designers and developers that they've worked with. And if nothing ever went wrong, we wouldn't have websites like Clients from Hell. Whether you're a freelancer, or you're an agency owner or another type of service-based business owner, you need to pay attention to your contracts. Contracts are designed to remove confusion, to minimize misunderstandings, eliminate assumptions, all while protecting your time, your sanity, and your bottom line. So make sure you spend time reviewing, creating, and keeping your freelance contracts up to date so you cover all your bases, you're protected, and your clients have a strong peace of mind. Thanks so much for joining me today, and until next time, have a great day.